All right, so let's get into it with connection, between development and recruiting. And so, you have to understand the details, right? So it's as simple as this. This is a correlation. The better player you are, the more opportunities you'll have, right? So if and we need to talk about it in probably the easiest way, which is a star rating, because a lot of sports use stars: 1 star, 2 star, 3 star, 4 star, 5 star. Some sports even go as high as blue chips. You remember that movie Blue Chips with Shaq and
Right.
Was it Nick Nolte and stuff?
Yeah.
Back in the 90s. I actually rewatched that movie not long ago on Amazon Prime because I hadn't seen it in years, so it just came to my head. But that's the concept, right? Is that in sports, you have your stars and your stats, and that helps you determine the level that you're at. Now, saying that you're not that star level and all this, I don't want to get into people's reasonings. I just want to talk about how the connection happens. So, there are schools that recruit 5 stars. There are schools that recruit 4 stars, 3 stars, 2 stars, 1, and sometimes they recruit a mix of level players. Right. And if you want to get all the opportunities, then you're going to hopefully become a 5-star, and then you've got 5-star options all the way down to coaches that recruit players that are 1 stars.
Right.
That's the ultimate goal, right? I mean, it sounds like it's simple. It sounds like it's common sense, but really, I think it needs to be brought up more often and explained, because I don't think everyone always sees it that way. So now the next thing about the stars is not everybody is going to become a 5-star player. Right. To become a 5-star player, it's basically like saying, I'm going to make $400,000 or more in the United States, which if you look at statistics over the years, earning $400,000 or more is like the 1% of earners in the United States. So a very small percentage in a large country of 350 million plus people.
A lot of people don't realize that either. So it's a good stat.
Exactly. People don't realize that. They don't realize how difficult it is and how few people actually get there. And that's not to discredit anybody else. So that's the same way with college sports. It requires talent, it requires desire, it requires opportunities. There's so many things that go into becoming a 5-star recruit. And to realize that everyone's striving to be that, but very few will actually make it there. And right. You need to be okay with falling anywhere in line between 1 and 5 stars. But where it gets complicated is people don't take their development to that level, so they don't plan for that. They don't understand that, okay, I need to actually get serious, put in the work, and all the things we're going to talk about. But that's a preface that I wanted to put forth, which is understanding that there's levels, understanding that it relates to each other, and that the better player you are, the better opportunities you're going to have, the more opportunities you're going to have. And most players don't get to the 5-star, like I said, but if you can fall somewhere there will be opportunities. You will have a great, college experience, and but you are, fighting for a spot.
Right. One of the things I can throw in here, Tarek, is like with the development, is it also has a lot to do with understanding the recruiting timeframes.
Right.
Okay. Although a coach might like your play and you may be on a short list of prospects for their program, so depending on where you are in the recruiting season or the cycle or time frame, your next steps and coaching timeline might look very different, right?
Yeah.
So you got to make sure you know what level you need to get to during your recruiting time frame, because it could be too late. So it's always good to start early. At least you have the advantage of knowing where you need to get to.
Right. So that's another part of this development and recruiting, is that there's pre-recruiting development, where just because so another thing I can add is that when you asked me the question at the beginning,
right,
of why people don't talk about it, I think that they only start also thinking about it when recruiting happens. So let's say you're a junior, right? And you start that communication with coaches, and you're let's just say you're a 3-star, for example, and a certain level player and certain attributes. And the coach says, I'm really looking for what they might call a 4-star or someone closer to a 4-star, and they need to have these skill sets and these, stats and so on. Then they start thinking about, okay, how do I get there development-wise? When really they should have been thinking about it from the beginning. So when you talk about recruiting timeline, it's recruiting with coaches. It's
Right.
during the recruitment, like you said, a coach might be interested in you, but is expecting that. Now, if you have all of that going on, then you should be telling a coach like, oh, that's already in my plan. Like, I'm working towards what you're asking me to do. So it's not new to me, but I'm going to try my best to get there, and hopefully I can and become a member of your team.
Right.
Not, oh, now let's go do it, which ends up being the case so many times. And then all of a sudden everything's rushed. And can you imagine the pressure that
Right.
the parent puts on the kid, that the kid has from the parents, let alone the pressure that coaches have to actually make that happen in, let's say, a short period of time? It's just a disaster waiting to happen.
Just gives them more time, right? Coaches that have, players on their radar will more likely recruit them if they see, certain development and improvement, right? So that's why at earlier ages, coaches like to get these recruits on their radar, and they will follow them.
Yeah.
Okay. They'll communicate with them when they're able to. Again, going back to, if you have a profile with a platform, they can at least follow you there, see what type of recruiting videos you're putting up every year, and just watching your development and improvement, right?
Yeah. So that's exactly like what goes hand in hand with everything we just said, is because you make a great point there, is that, so I said that you need to look at, your development and have that already in place. So when a coach tells you, I need this, that you're like, yeah, I'm already on top of it. But you're even saying one step further, which is like, you actually even, you're showing those improvements along the way. So coach will get even more interested to being like, and understanding that you are developing your skill set.
Yeah, because during the recruiting process, right, a college coach is ultimately looking for a player they're going to have on their team for 4 years, right? So they're looking for the full package player. Now, while a college coach is watching, recruits play at camps, tournaments, or showcases, they're also looking for what type of player they're going to eventually become, right? So again, working into the development aspect, they're seeing if this, player is able to develop, if they are developing, if they're able to improve, because ultimately they're not trying to bring someone on their team that is just going to be at a standstill. They want them to continue to develop, continue to improve, and to leave after 4 years with, something gained out of it, whether, they're going to the next level or just in general, just being a better player coming out of college.
Yeah, a lot of coaches will ask athletes, what their goals are as far as, what they want to achieve. And that is 100% basically asking you about development. And they're looking to develop you. And, people forget that when you come in and you're not a 5-star, then everyone's looking to make you a 5-star, right? Or whatever, have you jump up. And a lot of teams that are recruiting what they call the developing players, those are your 1-stars, 2-stars, and 3-stars that still need more work and have a lot of growth for development that you can especially see. They are looking for those players that want to continue their development. And there's so many success stories that I hear from coaches who say, I took on this 2-star kid, but boy, did he or she have a ton of talent and a ton of great, work ethic and all this. And you know what? After junior year, coming into senior year, like, he or she was a starter and they did this and they did that and they were winning all these awards and became a 4-star recruit, type of player, 5-star player. It's like, that happens,
right?
In every sport, and we see it. And so development is important all the way through, like you said.